So I love thrifting. If you clicked on this video, you are probably someone who loves thrifting also, or you like the idea of thrifting, but maybe you just don't know how to get started. So keep on watching. I've got some great tips and tricks to make you a successful thrifter. Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to the channel. I'm happy you're here today. We're going to be talking about thrifting. Now, thrifting is one of my favorite ways to decorate my home, and I would say that 80% or so of my home has been decorated either with free or secondhand finds. And I recently put out some questions to you guys to ask if you would be interested in finding out more about my approach to thrifting. Of course, there's a lot of different ways that you can come at thrifting, but I just thought it would be fun to share with you some of the things that I do to avoid some of the common pitfalls that a new thrifter might find themselves in. So let's get started. So before we begin, I wanted to let you know that my experience with thrifting is over the course of many decades. So when I was a kid, first of all, shout out to my mom because she is the ultimate money saver. She's very frugal and she always had a beautiful home. When I was growing up, one of her passions was decorating and gardening, and I'm sure that's probably why I am so passionate about those same things in my home. But as a kid, I promise you, I was not as thrilled about thrifting, about secondhand shopping, specifically garage sailing, as I am now. And so I would sit in the back of the car as my mom drove from garage sale to garage sale, wishing it was over. Every single Saturday, it was something that became a tradition for our weekend. And I tell you what, I'm so grateful now that that was my childhood growing up on Saturdays. We would actually go thrifting in the morning, and then in the afternoon, she would take me to the skating rink so I could hang out with my friends. So if you know, you know, from the 80s, that was like a big deal. But Saturday mornings was just constantly garage sailing. But you guys, I'm so thankful for that because even though I hated it then, I didn't appreciate it. I think that's where my love of secondhand shopping began. I was always so proud of the fact that my mom's home looked collected. It looked gathered. And sometimes when my friends would come over, they would actually make a mention of how beautiful my mom's home was. So shout out to you, Mom. You know I love you, and I'm so grateful that you taught me how to do this. So let's get started with some tips on how you can make thrifting your weekend hobby as well. So if you're new to thrifting, the entire process might seem a bit daunting. One of the things that helps me with avoiding that overwhelming feeling, especially when I walk into the thrift store, is I consider this a hobby and a treasure hunt. But if you're someone who enjoys a casual afternoon shopping, the thrift store might be the place where you will find some of your most treasured items. So the first thing I would say is you have to have a plan. If you are a person that buys all of the things, and I will be honest and say when it comes to decorating, I'm that person. I do not like clothes shopping. I do not like grocery shopping, but I could absolutely find myself in a home decor store for hours on end buying just about everything in the store that catches my eye. So when I go into a thrift store, it's even worse because it is really common to want to grab all of it and make sure that, you know, that's the item you want and that's the item you want to take home. And so you don't want to miss out on it. And so there's this sense of urgency when you go through the thrift store that, oh my gosh, if I don't pick that up now, I'm never gonna have that thing. And you know, it does take a little bit of time to work your way through that. Have a written list, either a handwritten list or something on your phone that you can refer to. So that way when you're browsing the aisles, you don't just grab everything. The second reason why having a list is so important is because of the extreme mass amount of items in the thrift store, you could get distracted, and maybe you were specifically looking for a certain type of throw pillow, or maybe you wanted to find a picture for some florals that you've been wanting to display. And as you're walking through the thrift store, you find so many great items that you think you could love and use in your home, and then you come home and you have all of these wonderful items except for the thing that you went in there for. But with thrift store shopping, you definitely can benefit from having a list. So now that we've established that it's really important to have a list, it's also important to know what is the best day to go thrifting. Oftentimes, people will go into a thrift store and they won't find find anything. And if they're new to thrifting, they'll just write it off as, I'm just not good at this. Anyone can find great items at a thrift store, but you do have to go back often. I do find that there are certain days that are way better for finding deals than others. And so the day you thrift really does matter. So if you're on a mission to find the best deals, it's important to go multiple times. Most people are cleaning out their closets and donating items during the weekend. And so Friday, Saturday do tend to be high donation days. And what that means is that all of those items are going to be in the back room getting sorted by the thrift store employees on Monday, Sunday if they're open, but a lot of places are closed on Sunday. And so Monday is the day that all of that incoming inventory is going to be still in the back room. So by Tuesday, a lot of the newer items that have been donated over the last few days are starting to be brought out into the shelves. Wednesday morning, in my experience, has been the absolute best day to find the best items. I'm not a morning person. I like to be home in the morning. I don't mind being awake early, but I don't like to leave my house in the morning. But on the days that I plan to go thrifting, I will typically wake up early and try to get to the thrift store right away as soon as the doors open. There are a lot of resellers and they know this trick. And so oftentimes when you arrive at the thrift store right before opening time, you'll see a line of people at the door. Most of the time, those are people who are looking for items at great prices that they can resell. So that's great for them, but it's not so great for you if you get there after them, because the store will be picked over and maybe the items that you would have loved to have now gone on to a resale shop and you miss out on those items. So yeah, I wanted to let you guys know about Velobox. Velobox is a really great candle subscription that you receive monthly that allows you access to some of the best artisan candle makers in the United States. All of their candles are super high quality. The scents are absolutely gorgeous, and you will love the price point. So let's take a look at this month's Velobox. Velobox is the sponsor of today's video, so check out their website, and I do have a discount code if you're interested in saving 50% off of your first shipment. So the next tip that I have for you is put it in your cart. Like, as soon as you see it, put it in your cart. I can't tell you how many times I have missed out on a really great item because I wasn't really sure if it was something that I wanted. And so I left it on the shelf and I figured I would just go back and find it later if I decided I wanted it, only to get back to that shelf and realize someone else has already snagged it. So now I've learned that I always will put it in my cart, walk around the store, and I do make multiple trips around the store. I'm in the store for a long time usually, and I have a cart full of items that I will then sort through later on in my shopping trip, and if there are items I've decided that I don't need or don't want, I put them back. But at least I know that they're in my cart so that if I do decide that I want them, I won't miss out on them. Now, when we're talking about deciding later, I always keep my budget in mind. When I get to the point of being done roaming the store, I find a very low traffic area, maybe in the back corner somewhere, that I can sort through all of the items in my cart. I pull out my phone, I get my calculator app going, and I take an inventory of how much I'm spending. I set a budget for the day, and there is no going over it. It doesn't matter how much I like an item. If it is something that is going to bring me over budget, I either have to put it back or find something else in the cart that I'm going to put back so that I can keep that other item. Budgeting is really important because the whole point of thrifting, besides having fun and enjoying the idea of the hunt, is saving money. But you aren't saving money if you're overspending. It doesn't matter what the price is. If you're going over your budget, you're going over your budget. So be ready to make some hard decisions at the end of your shopping trip and be ready to put items back. So this is a great strategy to use if you're planning to spend an hour or more in the thrift store and you want to make a few passes around the store as more items are being brought out from the back. Go ahead and cart that item if you're not sure of it, and you can always decide later. So the last tip that I have is using color as your guide. So sometimes when I'm in a thrift store and I am just browsing and I don't have a specific area of my home that I'm shopping for, I'll refer to the list that we spoke about earlier. But if I've got something in mind as far as a color palette, I use that color as my guide. It's a time saver because using that color is a way that I can sort of do a quick scan down the aisle and scan for whatever color I'm looking for. For example, this fall, I really want to use some olive greens and some rusts. And I think that when I'm shopping, I can be overwhelmed by all of the textures and the colors in the thrift store. So if I have those colors in mind, I can scan the aisle and see if there's anything that catches my eye in the chosen colors for that season. That way, when I do make the trip down the aisle, I'm not looking at everything. I kind of zone in on that one item that fits that color. It's an easy way to start thrift store shopping, especially if you're new to this, because it will help you to avoid bringing home things that aren't going to work in your space. Using color as a guide is a great way to avoid overspending, and it's a great way to make everything in your house look cohesive. When it comes to the specific color you're looking for, it is so helpful to avoid overspending and buying items that are not gonna work in your space. Now, another thing I really encourage you to do is open your mind to shopping for seasonal items all throughout the year. Most people are donating, for example, their Christmas items in January. And so January is a great time to find items that you can use for your Christmas decorations the following year. But oftentimes, people sort of rule out looking for holiday-inspired items throughout the year. I found some of my best Halloween and Christmas items in July. And so don't be afraid to browse through that holiday section, even though it might seem like it's totally not a great idea to do that. Head to that holiday section, find the items that you think you might like, and put them in your cart. You can always put them back later, like we talked about in that 10-minute at the end of the shopping trip decision-making process. But some of the best items can be found all throughout the year. So don't only shop for seasonal items when the season is approaching. In fact, if you do that, you're gonna find that the inventory is low because everyone else has already had that in mind, and when they head to the store, they're grabbing all of those seasonal items. So definitely in the months of February through July, those are some great ways to score really great Christmas, Halloween, and Thanksgiving items on a budget. Now, you guys, I do have a website. I don't mention it very often because it's still in process, but I do have a few blogs on that website where you can find more details about how to thrift and how to make a beautiful home on a budget. My website is goodhomemaking.com. So it's essentially the name of my channel, Good with an E, homemaking.com, and there you can find more information, more tips and tricks, and some of the blog posts that I have written in the past about how to be a successful thrifter. I hope that this information helps you to begin thrifting or continue on your thrifting journey, and I hope it's a way for you to find some fun items that no one else has that is unique to your specific style and your home. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. I so appreciate you joining me each week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.